I know I should do this project, but I'm already 60 hours in this week. But everyone is so busy, I don't want to add to their plate. It's okay. I'll just do it this time, but the next time I have to say no.
You realize you said this last week, the week before that, you're gonna burn out.
No, it's good. I slept 3 hours last night. I'm fine. Maybe we can do an episode on how to help others, on how to stop the shoulding.
Oh, yeah. No. Sure. This is going to be for others, not you. Yeah, that tracks.
Welcome to the Career Corrective, your career lifeline that gives you laugh lines with Jenny and Allie.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, our listeners. Today we are continuing our series on self-sabotage. Going to talk about how to start to squash automatic habits. We're going to dig right underneath those habits that you see happening, and we're going to get at the thoughts that are driving them, and that's going to be your way to dismantle the thoughts and then the habits and behaviors. And the reason is because then you can stay on track with what you want to achieve, or just as importantly, you can stop sabotaging.
That's right. That's it. Yeah. We know that work, it's so easy to get stressed, right, Allie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've got too much on your plate. You can't say no, and you're overloaded.
Yep.
You're just drained, or you're sick of the meetings where it's all fluff and it takes away from your work. It's just old.
It's old, leave it.
And and you want to feel better, but you're not sure how. Last time we talked about starting to catch these automatic thoughts and behaviors so you can start to see it through a new lens and catch yourself. Now we're ready to kick them out of the way. Beat them. Beat it. Scram, you guys.
Boot them.
Boot it. We're not doing this.
When you self-sabotage, think of your mind and these automatic habits as they're not your fault. They're ingrained. We've talked about it in past episodes where you can accumulate thoughts from your past and it feels real. So you're behaving based on the script you're given. What we're doing right now is dismantling the old scripts and giving you new ones, rewrites. I actually have a story. Picture it, Sicily, 1922. I thought it was a good way to tee this up, give you context to make you see what we're going for. Picture it, Sicily, 1922. When I was in college, I played college softball and I tore my rotator cuff.
Oh my gosh, I remember this.
I had to go for an MRI. I am claustrophobic. My father took me to the MRI and we got through it. I won't get into that part of the story, but he helped me. He was very good in helping guide you in just the perfect way. But a week later, I had a trip set to fly across the country and he was going to bring me to the airport. And I started having nightmares, cold sweat nightmares, that the airplane was an MRI machine.
Oh my goodness. Well, that makes sense. It is like a giant MRI machine.
I was waking up every night and I was petrified. I kept saying to him, I'm canceling the trip. I'm not going. So you don't need to bring me to the airport. And he would say, don't cancel. You don't have to go, but just don't cancel. His voice is the new voice. All of what we're doing today is how we want to teach you to talk to yourself. And the important part is I see a lot of examples out there that talk about this that are clinical. They'll say, first you wanted this, and then you want to uncover the thought, and then you want, what I want to do with you all today is show you how it really plays out and say to you, it doesn't matter how you achieve it. Sometimes it can be as simple as telling yourself, oh, I'm not going to do that thing that scares me. A new voice to talk to yourself and say, I'm not going to do that thing that scares me. I'm just not going to think about it right now. And that just gets you to delay it. And that's not the same as shoving it down or avoiding it. It's just leaving some room for the possibility that you could do the thing that scares you. So he continued to do this with me throughout the week. I would call him and say, really, I'm going to cancel my, and I think there was a reason I was calling him. I knew in some way he was the voice of reason. So that's why we want the voice of reason to be inside of you.
Yeah.
We get to the morning of the flight and we had to leave at 4 a.m. And I stayed at their house and he wakes me up 3:30. You're not gonna fly today. Just get in the car with your bag just in case. This is what
he did. I love this. Okay.
I was like, okay. And obviously this makes no sense, but I was like, whatever he said, I thought was great. So just do it. And get in the car. We drive to the airport. He's talking the whole time about nonsense. Just nothing. Nothing deep. Nothing about, your fears are not you. Nothing like that. Just chit-chatting. We get to the airport. Now, this was before September 11th, so people who brought you to the airport could go all the way to the gate. And I was, why are we parking? I'm not going. That's okay. We're just going to go in and check it out. No big deal. He has my ticket, my paper ticket. And then, you want a coffee? I said, why would I have a coffee? I'm going to go back to bed. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to get a coffee, blueberry muffin. You want some? No. Now we're at the gate and they're calling for my row. And he said, just take the magazine on and just go read the magazine in your seat.
Okay.
Next thing I know, the plane is taxiing away for leaving the gate.
Yeah.
So okay, I guess I'm going on the trip. And it was just his demeanor and his way of talking to me that let me believe that I just was going to go to the next step, just to the next step.
Yes.
And I had a wonderful trip. And that experience taught me a lot about how to deal with my anxiety. And as I have obsessed over my entire life reading about it and thinking of all these different clinical ways that I've learned to address it. I'm not a doctor at all. I just anecdotally read whatever I can to help myself. And he was doing exactly, I think it's a much better way to describe what we're going for here than us telling you the steps through a book or something that I've read. Now we're going to give you another exercise today, and our show is all about that. But it's basically whatever you can do to leave room for the possibility. So in talking to yourself, to just get to the next, and see what you can tackle, then you'll behave in a way that shows you didn't give in to that anxiety. What can you do next time? And that bolsters your confidence into a good cycle.
Yes, that was a beautiful example. Now, I'm so excited for this episode, and I think it's part of the process where our listeners are really going to start to feel like a badass.
It really is, because of the last thing that happens, which is, because I worked with myself in a better way, or I tried it a little differently, a lot of times that's going to lead to the action that you truly want, which then if you see yourself do that, you are a badass.
Yes, you are. Before we get into today's episode, we need to discuss something that's very important.
Okay.
I need an update in the Greek yogurt world. What's going on? Is Chobani fighting with Faye?
The Greek yogurt wars.
What's going on?
I do have a Greek yogurt.
You do? I knew it.
I was thinking that yesterday. I was eating something and I go, oh my gosh, this is hilarious that I have something new with Greek yogurt. This running
Coming
joke.
live from the Chobani plant.
I love this running joke of the Greek yogurt.
Me too. What do you have?
It's so dumb. I tried whole Greek yogurt.
Wait, you've never tried it before?
No.
What?
No. I always use the 2% or the fat-free.
Oh my goodness. How was it?
It's absolutely my favorite food in the world.
Oh my gosh.
I took liquid aminos. Of course, I have no idea how much. Garlic powder, tahini, and ketchup. I know.
What?
Weird. Liquid aminos, garlic powder, tahini, and ketchup. Put it in with the Greek yogurt and made a dip. What can't you put it on? Crackers, toast, broccoli, pasta, cereal. Oatmeal. No.
Fruit Loops. Put it on your Fruit Loops.
It was chef's kiss. Sweet, savory, umami, all of it. All of it.
All of it. Yes. It's taking dips to the next level.
What?
It's taking the dip to the next level.
It was so wonderful.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to go to the grocery, get some.
You are in for a treat.
Now it's time for our segment, You Be the Judge. Last week we talked about you, our listeners, our anxious achievers, starting to recognize those pesky self-sabotaging responses. And today we're talking about the next step in that process, which is how to smash negative beliefs. So to bring this to life, I will give you examples, Allie, that could come up for our listeners. And Allie, you have to challenge my beliefs to give our listeners examples of how to combat these. Yes. We will do some. Yeah. We'll do some that are to do with work life, and some will do having to deal with your personal life to make it more interesting. So, Allie, please make sure your answers reflect someone who's just starting to learn this early on in the process, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then listeners, you be the judge as to whether you're ready to tackle your self-sabotaging negative beliefs. Let's do it. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay. We're going to start off with the work life, sabotaging beliefs.
Okay.
All right. So here's the false belief. I'm too old to learn a new skill. Younger colleagues are just better suited for this.
Before I give my challenge, may I give a little context to what I think is happening with that person?
Yes. Yes.
When you say something like this to yourself, your body is begging you to stay in a feeling of safety. I'm too old to learn new skills means you don't have to put yourself out there. We touched on this, but it feels soothing to say, I'm too old to learn new skills. You're getting relief from that.
Right. You're letting yourself off the hook a little bit.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that feeling creates a positive, safe space. Just knowing that is helpful. When you challenge, so I'm going to be the challenge voice here, or what my father did for me in my example of going on the trip. The reason that may not feel good and the reason you want to find your way to do it is, like I said before, it doesn't matter how you get there or if it's perfect or crisp, or I've read so much on this and learned so much about it. In all of what I've seen, the examples are too perfect. I want to let you know, kind of like the commercial, you live, you learn, and get loves.
Wow.
We're not looking for theoretical parenthood for everything to be perfect. We're looking for you to live, learn, and get loves. This is about play with it, have fun with it, take that brush and color your colors and make it work for you.
Okay.
Tangent over. Hit me with the false belief again, Jenny.
Yes, the false belief was I'm too old to learn a new skill. Younger colleagues are just better suited for this.
The challenge could be, well, maybe. I mean, I have learned new skills in my past. I'm still the same person.
Right.
I probably could learn something if I wanted to. Maybe I don't need to decide right this minute.
Yeah.
But I can at least consider it.
Right. Maybe look into it a little bit.
Before just saying no. No.
Give it a glance. And then that's it.
Are we talking ukulele playing or are we talking learning Microsoft Word? Two different scenarios. Ukulele clearly being easier than Microsoft Word.
Way easier. All right, I'm ready for another false belief.
Hit me.
If I make a mistake, everyone will think I'm incompetent.
Challenge. Mistakes really do feel so embarrassing.
They do.
Acknowledging that in and of itself is so helpful to you because then start to think about the people you work with. These are the people you're going to let their judgment decide how you feel about yourself. Think about what John did last week at lunch.
John picked his nose. John ate 5-day-old chicken salad. Do we really care what John has to say about us?
The way to get over this is to demean your coworkers. That's what
I think so. Makes sense to me.
Ronnie, Ronnie.
Oh my gosh. Ronnie never sprays after going to the bathroom, so he's rude and he makes mistakes all the time, so we're good.
In this mode of making a mistake and feeling incompetent or embarrassed, the challenge really could be just let the air out of the tires with, mistakes feel embarrassing. I don't like to make them. I like to be a perfectionist. Yeah. However, think of all the things you've learned. You weren't perfect at them to begin with, and the possibility, anything you can say to yourself to acknowledge that they're embarrassing, but the possibility of learning the new thing could be a good idea. That's all we're trying to do is peek the door open a little bit for that little bit of light to leave it open for possibility.
That's right. All right. So the third false belief. Mm-hmm. I can't speak up in meetings. My ideas aren't good enough.
Challenge. Maybe I start with commenting or complimenting someone else's idea just to get used to speaking up in a meeting and work my way up to more later. You don't even need to commit to doing what the original fear or false belief is. You just, again, enough to take that small step.
Yes, I love it. Baby steps. This one is good. I like this one. I think a lot of our listeners have this belief. Okay. If I say no to extra tasks, people will think I'm not committed.
Absolutely. Overworking, imposter syndrome, burnout. These are all huge. These are the tiny false beliefs that lead to those huge consequences for you. You can't go anywhere online without hearing about burnout.
Yes. So true.
The challenge there would be, maybe you could even start with saying, let me split the difference. If something's heaped on to your plate, maybe just say, I can do that, but it's going to have to be the end of next week. I have an overloaded plate right now. So maybe you start with still saying yes, but making it inconvenient for them to use you as their way to get this done. Does that?
Yes, that makes sense.
Just leaving a little room for change. So I bet if you're saying yes to something, to extra tasks, you're answering that question immediately. Maybe if you delay your availability, they'll find somebody else, and at least you answered it differently to start to challenge it.
Right. That's wonderful. If I ask questions, people will think I'm clueless.
Okay, so the challenge for that, Jenny, can you give me an example of something that you want me to do? Like you're my boss giving me something to do that I might have questions about.
Okay, Allie, I really need that report to show the analytics for last month's applicants.
Okay, you could need clarity on what the report needs to entail. You could have questions about how to work the system. If you can't think of that on the spot, you would say, I'm happy to help. I've been in the system before to pull reports. If I have any questions about the details once I'm in there, who would be the appropriate contact? Even if that's the question, just to show what you know, what you've done. Now, if you know right off the bat, you have no idea what they're talking about, it would go, I'm happy to help. There's a lot of questions I'll have about the system and the details you want on that report. Is there an old report I could look at? You're showing I'm willing to do the work to get these answers. So maybe the challenge to yourself would be, I'm going to ask questions with context to show I've done work or I'm willing to do work, but questions may come up for anyone, even if they're amazing.
Amazing. Yes, showing them that you're interested, you're not clueless, you just have a lot of questions and you want to get it right.
That's the key piece. You can flip these things for yourself to say, I don't want to make it too perfect. Like, oh, like after school special of like, I'm great, so this is why I'm asking. But remember, you can flip that around. Someone who didn't care wouldn't ask any questions. So if you ask the question in a way that shows that you're looking for context, it actually makes you elevated better than someone who wouldn't ask a question.
Okay, that's wonderful. There's no point in asking for a raise. I'm not worth it.
That's false.
It is
You're
false.
not worth it. You are worth it.
You're wonderful. You're worth it.
The challenge, I think acknowledging here is huge. Ew, asking for money feels gross, feels weird. I'm never going to feel comfortable doing it. I would just talk to myself about how it's never going to feel natural. Acknowledge it. And then the challenge could be, I have to get advice from somebody on how to ask for a raise, just in case I could get more money. Ask other people, have they ever asked for a raise? Go get some data for yourself on that one. You could even say, even if I don't think I'm worth it, let me see if other people who aren't worth it got raises and see if I can get in on that action.
Yeah. So you're saying just take yourself out of it and you could stick to the data?
I love that. Yeah.
Right? Stick to the facts.
Yeah, that's a great way to put what I was getting at. And that's another thing of this non-perfect way of doing this. Have a joke about it to say, I'm not worth it. Well, even if I'm not worth it, maybe I could still get some money, you know?
Right. Yeah, lighten it up a little bit.
We're not going to maybe tackle the worthiness all in one shot, but I bet if you do that research, get that raise, you might be a little bit more inspired to challenge your negative thoughts in the future and your false beliefs in the future.
That's right. That's great. Let's do some personal life ones, shall we? I'm too set in my ways to change any habits now.
Challenge would be, well, what would be in this false belief in your personal life, Jenny? Can you think of something where this would come up? You want to do what, but you're too set in your ways to change your habits. Let's think of something that would be meaningful in your personal life.
Okay. I'm too set in my ways to change any habits. Making a commitment to going to the gym every day. Finding time in my schedule to go to the gym.
Yes. What I'm thinking, the challenge could be is look for data of other people who maybe can combat what you're dealing with. I just saw a list yesterday, actually appeared on the Instagram feed, where it was these people got their start at this age. And it was the person who started Walmart. I think his name is Sam. And he was in his late 40s. And then Colonel Sanders, the KFC guy, I don't even know if that's his name, was in his 50s or 60s. Clearly, if you're thinking, I'm too set in my ways to go to the gym, you've actually thought of, maybe I'd like to get into better shape.
Yes. And if that's something that you want, then if you really want it, you'll make the time for it.
Right. But if your belief is telling you, oh, I can't do it. Well, has anyone else done it? Oh. And Google's great for that, just to say people who got started in their whatever age you are at achieving something in their life. It's out there. Look for data to challenge yourself, or think about yourself. I changed my career in my 40s. I can certainly start going to the gym in my 50s. Any data from yourself or others that can just, again, leave that possibility open. Like, maybe I could start with a 5-minute walk and bring my coffee with me.
Right. Yes. Maybe wake up a little bit earlier on some days.
Set that alarm.
Yes. Yes. All right. I love that. At this age, it's too late for me to find love or improve my relationships.
Ask Tina Turner about that. Yeah.
Well, you can't ask her now, but
Google her.
Google Tina's story. It's a beautiful story.
Yeah. Finding love, relationships, improve relationships. This is the hardest piece because this is where we're most vulnerable. So if you can even leave the possibility open for knowing that, just talking to yourself about, of course I feel like I want to stay safe and not put myself out there, acknowledging that for yourself, and then saying, again, I say lighten it up if you can. And this is all different for your personality, but like, maybe I missed the boat, but I'll go on some crappy dates and then I'll have some funny stories to tell my girls at wine night or book club or walking club. Just leaving the door open a little bit, say, yeah, it's probably not going to be anything, but let me see if I can sign up for a dating app and just go on some terrible dates and have some funny stories. That just at least gets you out there to try. And then next step. All we're dealing with is the possibility, getting yourself to just boop, change it. Just that little possibility of things to go differently.
That's right. That's great. All right. Another false belief. This is a good one. I should have everything figured out by now. I'm too old to be uncertain.
The funny thing is, even though a lot of these are, I'm too old or it's too late, this can be at any age.
That's right. That's right.
30s, 40s, 50s, 80s, 90s, 100s. It's the safety of the subconscious wanting to make sure you don't have to change. It's just going to throw these things at you, these false beliefs at you, have nothing to do with the reality of the situation. Now, they may be more believable the older you are, and you might be able to come up with more data to support the false belief. But as long as you know, this could be me just not wanting to put myself out there or do something different. Let me see what else is possible here. Just that catching it helps you mull it over and consider things a little differently. In this one, I should have everything figured out by now. You may talk to yourself about your perceptions. People may perceive me that I have it all together and would have no idea I feel this way. Maybe they don't have it all together, and that's my perception of them.
Right.
Am I going to waste my time thinking about all of that? Or am I going to try? Wait, what, Jenny?
No, you're not going to waste your time doing that.
Yeah.
Their life is their life. Your life is yours. And there's no time frame for any of it. You do.
Ooh, I love that.
Right? There isn't.
No.
It's your journey.
You learn breakdancing at 106. You go for it.
You do it. You do it. Yes.
There's this bar class I take online, and she always says, we want to have our hips. How does she say? We want healthy hips until we're 106.
I like that.
No, like I do. I feel that, sister. They don't feel great right now because you just made me put my foot up through the bar, but my hips are feeling 106 right now. But anyway.
I don't want a hip replacement, so I got to do this.
I got it. Well, that's her point. It just it does scare the crap out of me. I'm like, I do want my hips until I'm 106. I'll do the move I hate. I'll do the move.
That's great. My family needs should always come before mine.
The challenge here is they tell you on an airplane, you have to put your own mask on first before you can help others.
That's right.
People may want to smack me for saying that. I'm like, oh, well, they don't have 3 kids and this, that, the other. That's fine. I get it. You're busy, Sandra. I get it.
Yes.
However, in your heart of hearts,
yes,
there's always some time to carve out for you. It can be 30 seconds is better than 0. 1 minute is better. All in perspective. I know life can be hard. Some people work 2 jobs. I've been there. Some people have a lot of children. Some people have sick spouses, sick kids. It's heartbreaking, some of what people carry.
Yeah.
But the heart of that doesn't change that whatever you can do to carve it out. And I say, I'm realizing that there's a theme here that I'm thinking is important and I haven't verbalized yet, but it's you don't have to fix the root thought of I'm worth it. You don't have to do that to start behaving in a way to honor yourself. I say attack it from the opposite direction. So as an example, a lot of advice out there in these types of conversations talk about how you have to get your worthiness. You do, but I believe the way to find your worthiness in this scenario is a great example. My family's needs have to come first. I say you don't have to get it that you come first. I say start doing micro changes. Yeah. Consider changes for yourself, to do a little something for yourself, get into action on behaving that way to create tiny positive momentums. That's why habits work so well. And I can tell as I'm talking about this, I feel so passionately about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm in my mode of, I'm urging you to consider this is okay. You are not needing to get this academically. You're needing to make tiny changes because we've talked about before how habits make it easier because our brains don't have to do anything to think about a habit. So a teeny tiny habit, I mean, there is the book, Atomic Habits. The teeny tiny habit And then they have the habit stacking. And I'm not going to get into the book Atomic Habits, but we will at some point. But basically that's why, is because a tiny little thread will do wonders for you to make it happen over and over and over. It's accidentally building your confidence that you can do things like this. And then you do another and another and another. So the challenge here to this false belief would be, what if I just did one tiny thing 30 seconds a day? Could it be worth it? You can even leave it at there just to consider it and move on.
Yeah. Get out of your head and do the action.
Get out of my dreams and into my car.
I was so thinking that.
But you're right, Jenny. Get out of your head and into action. Tiny, tiny little considerations for action. But the doing is where the magic happens.
It's the secret sauce.
Yes.
Okay. I think that was very helpful to our viewers.
Good.
Please let us know, guys. Allie, I know you read that article in the Harvard Business Review talking about dealing with negative thoughts. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it was written by Elle Woods during her time at Harvard.
Ooh, tell us more.
You want to do a pink, just a rose gold blush.
Higher on your cheekbones.
Contouring. It's all about contouring.
Yes.
No, the Harvard Business Review talks about when we're making progress toward our goals that you're going to have negative thoughts, which is what we've been talking about today. I'm not good enough, and it hijacks our inner voices. Right. And that results in rumination, limiting beliefs, and we're looking to shift our focus away from that. Very fitting to what we're talking about today. And the heart of the article, a lot of it I thought was too clinical and not very helpful in really putting this into action. But there was one thing that I loved, is think about the best case scenarios.
Okay.
And our minds, as we've talked about before, are trained to think about worst case scenarios. And that's all of what Jenny just went through in the false beliefs. If you remember that, what if I think of the best case scenario, even if you don't do it, just to train your mind to even say, what about the best case scenario? It just stops that circuit in its tracks to think that your thoughts are the truth. Your limiting beliefs are the truth, because they're not.
They're not. No. Tell them to go away. You'll get back to it. Yes.
And the article talked about defining your values and developing your senses, getting into imagination. We've heard all about this, vision boards, things like that.
Yeah.
All of the information in there is sound, but I just thought the idea of think about the best case scenario, because when you're operating automatically like that with those limiting beliefs, you're never considering the best case scenario.
Right.
Maybe we could walk through an example there, Jenny. So can you think of anything? Well, first of all, do you think it would be more helpful for people if we used a personal life example or a work example?
I would say a work example.
Can you give me a scenario of something that could affect somebody negatively at work? And then I'm going to try and show on the fly how thinking about the best case scenario could help.
Okay. You are working on a project with your coworker, and news got back to you that they don't think you're doing your part on the project.
Okay. You'd start to get defensive right away.
Absolutely. That's human nature.
Wait, what?
That's human nature, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the action here in the person thinking you didn't do your part is to say, do I address that? Does my boss think this? You're wondering how to go about it and what to do. When you think about that, you can say, what is the best case scenario? The best case scenario is they didn't say it. The best case scenario after that is I ask them about it and they say, I actually said the opposite. The best case scenario is that person that they're talking about doesn't even work here anymore.
Right. Right.
And then you would take that to the next step and I'm going to go address them. They do work here. Tier 1 wasn't actually true. So I go and talk to them and we ended up talking it through and having a much better understanding of what each other's roles are. And it was a role clarification that was needed. We got that sorted and the project results were even better than originally thought. Those are some examples of talking about the best case scenario. And if you notice, if you talk to yourself that way about the best case scenario, you're going to feel your body change to reduce your cortisol levels and your stress. Because when you're talking about the worst case scenario, you're getting yourself amped up.
That's right. You don't need to get yourself amped up at that point.
It's a disservice.
That's right. That's right.
And if you go into a conversation, so in this scenario, if you have somebody saying something about you at work, we've talked about this on other episodes, you do need to address it in some way. If you go into that conversation cool, calm, collected, and thinking the best case scenario, you're going to give them benefit of the doubt. You're going to listen more. And even if they're the worst, you're making that result so much better for yourself by doing it in that way.
That's right. Turning it around and making it a positive, I think, is the way to go.
Making it the best possible, even if the person you work with is the worst. I'm looking at you, Peggy, from accounting.
Ugh, Peg. Yes. Just wonderful content, Allie. Really.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah. I think one of our biggest takeaways from today is that everyone experiences self-doubt and negative beliefs. So it's just something that you're going to experience as you're growing.
Yeah.
But it's important not to push them down or deny it, but just start to kind of lighten it up.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Make it positive.
Yeah. I think of it, you can almost think of it as a game where you can play squash or SWAT, the limiting belief.
Yeah. Or you could just gobble it up like Miss Pac-Man. Gobble it, but let it go.
Make sure you put a little pink bow like Miss Pac-Man in your hair.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard this before, but have you heard of the term kick the can down the road?
Yes.
Kick the can down the road is really what we're getting at here.